Hello, everyone. I am very honored to be here and to be able to share with you the importance of truth in support of global unity. Most of the concepts we're going to bring to you are from the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology and Sound Health. We started the Institute in the early 80s to be able to look at the idea that frequency and vibration can influence health and personality. But I should let you know that I am not a medical practitioner and I can only give you a small part of what we have done over the last 40 years. The main issue that I want to share is that we think that we have stumbled upon a mathematical Rosetta Stone of health that can be used for the opportunity of self health through vocal profiling and vocal frequencies because we think we have come upon the mathematical constitution of a human being and how it can be detected and managed through frequencies. I can't share everything with you, but we have a professional website called Bioacoustic Solutions, and I will give you the full address for that at the end. Let's try to start understanding this from the beginning. An ancient philosophers, Pythagoras and Kepler, thought that as the planets in our galaxy move around the sun, they set up a frequency modulation, oscillations that they interpreted as music, and they called it music of the spheres. The idea was as the planets moved, they set up a vibration that we couldn't hear, our ears couldn't hear, but we could hear. They postulated that our soul hears these frequencies and in turn sets us up as reality, as a physical being, as a physical place. Recently, James Jimjuski, a distinguished professor in the Department of Chemistry at UCLA, confirmed that all living cells make distinct sounds, and those sounds are below normal hearing. But he reasoned that if he could find a way to allow doctors to hear these sounds, they could interpret them and help diagnose and relieve disease. So that sort of supports what Pythagoras and Kepler were saying. I think our ancestors knew about this, and it's just now coming into public domain. Robert O. Becker did a lot to support this idea with the body electric. He thinks that there is an analog body that is used for healing, is used for imagination, creativity, acupuncture, homeopathy, and that if we can tap into that electric body, that really is a frequency and a vibration that we can in turn manage our health. He doesn't talk about it much, but other people do, that the vagus nerve is the network, is the of how the physical body and this analog body really works. So he's laid the foundation for the emerging field of bioelectromagnetics. And that's what we're looking at when we try to look at someone's vocal print and try to interpret what that really means. This same set of frequencies go through our brain and our central nervous system. And we think if we can tap into that and interpret it, that we can tap into the universal secrets of wellness and harmony. And I agree with that because I think we're tapping into it at the Institute through vocal prints. And we do two kinds of vocal prints. The top one here is frequency domain, and the bottom one is time domain. We believe the state of your health can be found in the sounds of your words. And the bottom one, the time domain, deals with personality, where the frequency domain deals with biochemistry, homeostasis, our actual body. Let's look at this. This is Desmond Tutu, fearless beacon of moral justice, and this is his vocal print dealing with Guantanamo Bay and what's happening there. And he also asks the question to his audience, what can God do without you? It's mostly red, which is indicative of a strong foundation, a look at the future, and there's some blue in here that deals with emotions. Now, F is the highest blue, and that's a balance between perception and action. In his case, he always keeps emotions in that balance. D is also somewhat blue, and that's information. He knows that what he says is going to be interpreted in an emotional way. Let's look at what the computer printout actually says about him. Now, this is not a human being saying this. This is a computer. You think that feeding the mind is just as important as feeding the body. You are aware of how painful thoughtless words can be. His perspective of life is from an internal perspective of service to self versus humanitarian needs. So he's all the time weighing what's going on with him and his place in the world and how that suits the people he is serving. He loves the idea of integration of appropriate perception and action. Now, many of you will be familiar with him and who he is and what he stands for, and this is all true. At least from my perspective, it is. And this was a computer writing this evaluation. You can see at the bottom here, this is the red line that he had a lot of, and this is foundation, a strong moral foundation. He also has a lot here in some naive. So I don't know how to interpret that immediately. Naive, and he doesn't always know how things are going to affect everybody else, but he wants to bring spirit into his interactions with others. And again, this is a computer printout. The first one we showed was the time domain, and this is the frequency domain. So we look at this, and he has the note of E practically empty, and that deals with oxygenation. And it's right next to a frequency that deals with male biochemistry. Also, C sharp is missing. C sharp is usually justice, and it looks to me like his justice is already settled. So you can look at where people have been and where they are going. He has a lot of information frequencies in A sharp, and that's management and feelings for others. So he always wishes for the best, for the future, and always in terms of heart and mind. This would tell me strong foundation. He's telling the truth. 0, he doesn't know how the truth is always going to set with people because justice is empty and E is empty. E is words and oxygenation. I would say he is a truth teller and has a love for other people. Tucker Carlson was a Fox News anchor, and they fired him for supposedly telling the truth. They didn't like that he told the truth, and he was talking about it. He says, we need to hone our spidey senses because we really know when people are lying to us. We just don't believe it because they're spouting all these words that sound good, but they lack the foundation to really bring all of that through. we looked at Desmond Tutu. Let's look at Zoran Mandami. This is his print, his time domain print, and it shows he's very much interested in green, accomplishment, and do. Not a lot of future information, not a lot of emotional information. Self-approval and self-worth is his basic personality. A balance between self-expression and self-worth resides with this note. So he's looking for that. He has the same missing ideas that Desmond Tutu has, but we'll look at that in a minute. Some of the same. There is a need to be in a balance, but his balance lacks foundation, because if you look at his bottom line here, the red line, there's very little foundation. Most of his energy is in the note of D, information and words, and it's in an octave that deals with emotions. His high energy is in self-expressed ego, meaning he likes to control what others think of him. Most of his energy is in managing physical aspects of others. This 15 and 34 score here, this is in management of others based on foundation. So looking at these two, and Mondami is running for mayor of New York City, which one, based on their vocal print and a computer telling you the truth of each of these people, which one would you choose to be your leader? Again, we did this based on time domain, and each one of these notes indicate some other personality trait. I created this in the early 80s. I was in a class about persuasion. My undergraduate degree is in interpersonal communication. And so I began to build a computer program as part of my senior project, because I could tell when someone was lying in this class about persuasion. And I thought, how important is the truth? And what if we had a computer program that was really about the truth? Would our world be a better place? Would we feel more secure? Would we not be blindsided by people fibbing to us and trying to get us to support them? People who lie to you don't love you. People who lie to you want you to serve them. That's why they're lying and creating a false reality. So I figured if I created this program and I've given it away now for 30 years, and we refined it for about 30 years, what would that do to help people unite, to help the world unite if everyone was required to tell the truth? I think first it might make us miserable, but then I think it would eventually be a better place. We have used this to look at people's physiology and eventually began to look at the frequencies of the voice, not just the notes of the voice. Because in this case, C is what, 128 cycles per second, and each one of these notes carry a frequency. A is the note of 440. It's also another scale, 432. And A is about management of other people, other things. Now, not physical control, but management control. And this belongs to Obama, by the way. And he likes managing and controlling the people. We have a book called The Biggest Liars, and it's part of the textbook that goes with the computer program that we're going to give you at the end of this. And you can look at all different kinds of vocal prints and what they mean. We wanted to use it as a text. And in looking at all of these people who volunteered their vocal print, we found that people with similar traumas, illnesses, syndromes, diseases, toxins have similar, if not identical, vocal anomalies. We just did a project on cortisol. On cortisol and the idea that people have a cortisol belly and they can't lose it. Well, that's all the notes of F and F sharp. And when we looked through all these thousands of vocal prints we had, we found that to be true, that people with high cortisol have high belly fat. And so we did a project about that. This is one that we did on cancer, and we were able to tell the people who reported to us that they have cancer, these are the commonalities that they had in their vocal prints. So this is the beginning of looking at that mathematical constitution, that high vitamin A, low catalase. Krebs cycle was at fault. They had detox issues. They had pathogens. Their genetics showed the tendency toward this, especially hormonal genetics. Calcitonin, the use of calcium in the body, is incredibly important for healing. So we've actually created a template for calcium so we can go right to the root cause and see how calcium is involved in what's going on. When we looked at these commonalities for cancer, we found that 5-lipogenase, 5-HETE, is a cancer food. And we found that cancer food is created through a fault on arachidonic acid and hydrogen peroxide. So our idea about cancer is just take away the food. And that's what we've been doing and trying to help people. But we have never found it had we not compared the frequencies of all the people who reported to us that they had cancer. That template is available to the public, by the way. So here is what a vocal print looks like. The numbers are the frequencies from someone's voice. There are 12 notes and 6 octaves. The bottom octave is instinctual, foundational. Next one up is control. Next one up, emotional, childlike naivete, fantasy, and then the top one is non-reality or omnipotence. The notes tell us what the perspective is. The numbers tell us how many times that particular note showed up in a voice. And you'll see 85 here in childlike naivete. This is somebody that probably is a bit naive about how other people can be taken care of. And this is Gruber. He was Obama's health person for Obamacare. So that's his highest note in naive. So he's highest about controlling other people's future. And he says people need Obamacare and they don't know they need it. And we can stuff it down their throat, and that's the way it's going to be. You can see that he has in the note of D, which is truth and words and information. And in fantasy, he has 146. Normal is 42. 146 is just bizarre to have it that high in fantasy. It means he's not telling the whole truth or he is distorting the truth. Wouldn't you like to be able to tell that about anyone? Well, we're going to give you the computer program so you'll be able to try this with anyone. Octaves showing underlying perspective. Naivete, fantasy. I would not believe this man, but he was telling the truth when he said, "You're too stupid to know what you mean. We're going to tell you what you need." So there's just perspectives that you can look at. We look at each of the notes, and you can download this chart on our site, the Bioacoustic Solutions. We use this as kind of a cheat sheet when we're looking at E for words and D for self-approval and information, organization of information. And then he had B in stress too. Link between self and the universe needs harmony and balance. So that can be downloaded by any of you. So as you begin to learn how to use this computer program, balance is the key to the computer program, how each of these notes balance with each other and how each of these notes balance with their noise canceling effect. And that's used with noise canceling headsets. And then what's beside each other, like F and F sharp is the kidneys and the lower back. And D sharp and E is about words of information, but they're manipulated. C and C sharp is about circulation. C sharp and D is about justice and delivering justice to the people. So just a preliminary information about how you can use this computer program that we're going to provide to you. Like I said before, 42 is kind of normal, average all the way across. So you had a lot of the notice C, which is ego and self, and it's too high, you likely would run over people. And if it's too low, you would likely let people run over you. So you can learn a lot about yourself and others by using this computer program. The people who have Macs, you can use this online. The computer program we're going to provide to you won't be able to be used on Macs unless you split your Mac computer into parallels. But it's just as easy to go online and use it at our online workstation, soundhealthportal.com. And these are just what some of the notes mean by enzymes, by amino acids. These are just note correlate charts. It also indicates what color each of these, and this was just arbitrary on my part, that I made emotions in blue. That's the third octave up. Accomplish green. You do something for a purpose. Yellow is intellect. Oh, that you could look at yellow like money or farmers, they grow things. Blue like an artist or a minister, maybe. Yellow is intellect. Alan Alda is the greatest example of all yellow voice. And red, something for the future, like Santa Claus or somebody who's very bigoted, very much into their own stuff. You'll see that in Archie Bunker in that TV show. This is Christian Bale, and he was a few years ago in a movie, Batman movie, and it was about to come out, and they put out a storm of words about from Christian Bale. A photographer had walked in front of a camera, and it really ticked him off, and he had about a 3-minute tirade of cuss words, and they put that out and tried to make this photographer the bad guy of the story. And if you really look at Christian Bale's voice during that 3-minute cuss word laced vocal print, you can see it's mostly green. Green is for an accomplishment or for a reason or for a purpose. If he was angry, it would be more red. So this is nothing more than a publicity stunt. So you can see that you can tell what people's motives are, not just on something that's this insignificant, but this is Jerry Sandusky. He was a coach at Penn State, and he was found guilty of molesting little boys in the locker room. But they ask us to come in, is he guilty? And if you have somebody with this much of their vocal print missing, they are not telling you the truth. And remember, I said that D is information and not necessarily true information. There was a lot of energy there, 252. Remember, the average is 42. Look at that. And the word that really gave him away was horseplay. And when he was talking about the word horseplay, this is where all this D came up. The information is there about information, but it shows that it's in an octave of fantasy. He did not think that he did anything wrong. This means to me that this probably happened to him because he also has a strong foundation. And he just thought this was what you do in locker rooms with little kids. I don't know all of the truth. I didn't follow it that much. So we're able to look at the truth. Let's look at Robin Williams' suicide. I was on a national radio show the day after he committed suicide. And I said at the time, we've looked at his vocal print. We think this was dementia. And the people in the show said, no, that didn't even happen. But his wife, the next few days, admitted that he did have a form of dementia, and his autopsy revealed he had a form of dementia. And I put this in here so you guys can compare what really is going on. So he was this zany wit person, laughing all the time, making other people laugh with his words and how he treated them. This is what his vocal print in time domain looked like. Now, in time domain, if you do how now brown cow, that would give you 4 hits. So we did his entire interview with Ellen DeGeneres here, and you can see a lot of intellect, and it's about people, managing people, caring about people, being creative. That's his main issue. And that's not how we know him. We know him as this zany wit all over the place. Mostly his emotions are in D sharp and E, information, sharing information. But you can see there's a lot of things missing. F and F sharp is missing. That's money, that's male reproduction. G is controlling anything physical. C sharp is controlling justice. So how would this look as a physical, a frequency-based domain? Can you get more information from something that is a frequency domain? There's a lot of information here, and we could share it with you. It's all on the computer. The computer wrote this report. When we look at his actual print of the same recording, we see some pretty disturbing things. The gray grid is normal for that person. Everybody's normal is shifted as this computer program goes on, and it picks the points for you that you should look at. In this case, this is the architecture of dementia, either Lewy dementia, which is dementia from outside poisons, or from the dementia that starts from your brain and moves outward. This is true in a lot of people in government. In our Biggest Liar book, it identifies them. But architecture also means a lot to this, where you won't get architecture when you're looking at time domain. Architecture is certainly considered when you're looking at frequencies. And this is 0 frequency to over 1,000. So it's many octaves. And you can see this is a problem. This is some kind of toxin or poison in the body. And the classes for this, the beginning ones, are also free if any of you are interested in going to our soundhealthportal.com. Frequency domain, time domain. The state of your health can be found in the sounds of your voice. And if you knew what everyone was thinking, what they're trying to get out of you, what they're trying to push you toward, or how they are supporting you, I think the world would be a better place. I think it could cause unity in our world, because this is the one common thing most of us have in common. We have a voice. We certainly have frequencies inside ourselves. James Jajewski proved that. So what can we do with this information that is from just frequency domain. This is Dr. Russ Rudy. He came to us because his doctor said, "You have multiple sclerosis. Go home and die." He didn't accept that, and he'd heard about me from one of his doctors. And so he came to our center at a Hocking College, and this is what's going on. So we took his vocal print in frequency domain, and it said, "You don't have MS. You didn't match anybody else in our database that had MS. You had an injury to your spine." And he denied that. Later, he remembered he had a skiing accident. But we were able to look at his vocal print and make him a set of sounds like music in the air, but they don't sound like music. They sound like your refrigerator running in the background. And here is his report that his nerves regenerated from his waist down. And he had a baclofen pump inside his stomach cavity that was giving him pain medication. He was able to have that pump removed. And as he says to us, he's the only one he knows that's ever had that baclofen pump removed. But here is proof that frequency can regenerate nerves, supposedly impossible. How important is that kind of diagnosis and treatment for the people on the planet that have MS and Lou Gehrig's and polio and sports traumas? But we'll talk about that next. This is Bob Bethel. He's an attorney and a sports captain. My husband met him at the grocery store in the dog food aisle. They both had on tennis shirts, and they're both tennis players. So they struck up a conversation because Bob had had an accident. This is his foot at this end. This is what the leg looks like from the side. That's what his leg looked like when my husband met him at the grocery store. And he was just dragging that leg around. And my husband said, "I think my wife could help you." And Bob poo-pooed it. And Bill invited Bob out to play at our old ratty tennis court in the backyard. And when they came to the house, I put sounds on that I thought would help him with his pain because he was really complaining. Now, the sounds I heard from them talking while they were batting this tennis ball around, that's the talent that we've been using all of these years. I hear sounds from people, and they're like the otoacoustic emission that Johns Hopkins University has discovered in people's ears. They're doing it with animals too, and guinea pigs. But I listen to them talk and bark at each other, and I did Bob's sound and put it on when he came to the house, just on a speaker. They took meat out of his back, bones out of his hip, and skin from his thigh, and they rebuilt that lower leg. You can see what it looks like. Well, our computer program showed what muscles were in stress and that they were low and they really weren't getting enough energy. And that was the frequency, the sounds of the frequencies that I put in the computer program that I thought belonged to Bob, and the computer comes up with the answer. So this is what Bob's looked like less than a year later. It got rid of his pain, and it reshaped his leg into a real leg. Bob is now teaching tennis. You can see what that leg looks like. Think of this in terms of trauma and scars and sports injuries and what is really going on. I think this would be a boon to any rehabilitation center anywhere in the world. There's a close of it. And he came to us 18 months to 2 years after they did this operation. They told him it's not going to get any better. But my husband grabbed him at the grocery store. We gave him sounds, and he doesn't even feel this problem with his leg. He said it just feels like a normal leg moving around. So vocal profiling can be used as a tool to identify muscles that may be prone to injury or weakness. And we have done this, um, I don't know how many times, but probably near 100 for people, kids especially, when they get hurt in football or deliberate injuries. That was one of our best cases. But I went to his chiropractor. He was dragging his leg too, this young kid, I can't remember his name. And his chiropractor um, laughed at me and told me to get away from him. And I said, but look at what he can do. He can walk now. He can go upstairs. And he said, it's not approved. It's not FDA approved. And we went to the FDA and they said, this is not medicine. Go away. So that's when we started our own center to try to see clients and see if we could help them. And there is a booklet about what we do and all the breadth and depth of what we can do. And I invite all of you to download that from our website. This is important information for the health of people. Right now, we are working on a weight management um, program because we saw that as really stressful for a lot of people. And we also saw that a lot of information about weight management was not getting to the public. They say, eat less, exercise more, the end. No, that's not the end. There's a lot of things going on that we discovered from people's vocal prints. Fatty liver, cholesterol, co-fatter indicators, lipid liabilities, thyroid, brown fat, thermogenesis, Krebs cycle, ATP, AMPK, adiponectin, a lot of things that they're not telling you that's involved. I wrote a 10-part series for Masters of Health magazine, and we reveal all of those 20 some issues that we found, particularly adiponectin we found is integral part of people who have diabetes. And it is a biochemical that manages insulin. And a lot of people, once we got adiponectin right, they needed way less insulin or not insulin at all because they weren't making insulin. It's that their adiponectin was not doing right. Here are some of the 10 articles. It started in December of 2024 with identifying all of the issues that had not been identified to the public. Our last one, we just published that in September. We want to share that with the public. Here's where you can download it. We're very happy that we've been able to create an online portal community, and we're giving it free to the people that you can go there, record your voice, and it will give you a printout of what your issues are for weight management. We also have some free classes there if people want to do this for their neighbors, their family. There's an incredible amount of people who are overweight and stressed about it. And the last one we published was about cortisol and how they could either have Addison's or Cushing's disease, and there's weight management on both sides of that, and there's no cure. So we're trying to facilitate a cure. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that legally, with frequencies and give that to the public because we think it's incredibly important to reduce the stress. Here are some of the 20 issues that we were able to write about. We've also made something that we call mathical maps, and we've done this for insulin, for cell salts, for bile salts, for rheumatoid arthritis, we've made these maps so that you can look at this and see where your fat lays down. Mine lays down in cortisol, in belly fat, because the body is so redundant. Fat lays down on the muscle that has almost the same frequency as the biochemical. So people can use these methical maps without ever having a vocal print. But I don't know why they don't go have a vocal print, because it's just totally free for people. In conclusion, there are no solids. We exist in a universe that consists entirely of energy. Einstein proved it. Frequency defines it. Bioacoustic biology unveils it and makes it available. It is our future. The knowledge of frequency medicine is our future. And what's going to happen now? We all can tell the truth and be well. So some of the things that we did recently that we'd like to share with you, based on the Rosetta Stone of healing, we now know why GLP-1 works. They wouldn't tell you before, but we have figured out mathematically why GLP-1 works, and also a lot of medicines and why they work or why they have side effects. We now know how to create mathways, just as there are pathways of health and healing in biochemistry. There are mathways of self-healing. And we know now that weight starts with a cholesterol enzyme. And once we get that enzyme under control, the rest we can help fall in place. Muscle cramps, a lot of you have that at night. And when we examined all of these people who were reporting muscle cramps at night and serious muscle cramps, it was a sign that their cortisol was unbalanced. Maybe that will encourage people to look for a cure. And we can create outcomes beyond what is thought as possible. And we want all of you to join us in looking at the medicine of the future, learning about it, sharing it with your neighbors, setting up a bioacoustic center in your community. When you download the software, or if you want to go to our website, Bioacoustic Solutions, go to portal class information, and you can download a lot of this software and manuals and videos and how-to, a lot of the articles that we wanted to share with you. I have been very reluctant to share a lot of this because I didn't want to go to jail. So I've just been doing this kind of on my own, sharing with people who came to us. So this is just some of the links. I hope all of you take a snapshot of this. We have already done a nano class and teaching people how to use the nano voice software that we want you to have. And that is online. You can go online and download that class and learn how to use this. We also have advanced classes. We invite all of you who want to get well, who want to see what's going on in the world, to invite you to learn about all of this and invite us into your house, whether it's for self-help, helping other people, investing in your health and future. Please join us in attempting to create global unity through sound.